People above 30, what's your biggest regret in life? Write your opinion in the comments. If you are over 30 years old, what do you regret? I will definitely read everything. Enjoy watching. Story 1. Not leaving my family home. I am 33 years old and have always had a turbulent relationship with my family. Now it's so expensive that I cannot afford to leave, even though I've wanted to since I was 13. I left once and my parents made me feel completely awful for it. Life feels shitty most times because I feel so at odds with the people who are supposed to love and support me the most. They've conditioned me to feel practically worthless and unlikable, which stooped my confidence so low at times that the act of ending myself seemed like the best option. I still go through phases when those thoughts cross my mind more heavily, but I try my best to remember that one day my parents will be gone and I won't have to live under their judgment or disappointment. And longer, as morbid as that sounds, I would have left when I could and figured it out. At least my life would have been more juiced up with living over whatever the F you could call it that I'm doing now. Surviving, I suppose. Story 2. Thinking I'm a failure from my late 20s to early 30s because I wasn't on the typical graduate uni, get a job, get married, have kids, own a house path. I swear I was depressed for a while. But guess what? It's never too late. Just keep working hard and do not give a crap about what others say or think about you. Story 3. I got into a fight with my friend over something stupid. Instead of being a true friend and apologizing for my part of things, I decided I wouldn't talk to them until they apologized to me. Well, they didn't. And a few weeks later, they died in a car accident, so my biggest regret is being arrogant. Story 4. Honestly, no regrets. The only regret I have is the COVID years that took away a lot of time I could have spent with people, but it's out of my control and we all went through it. I made a lot of mistakes. Tons. I was nasty and maybe mean to people. Angry. I know the reason why. I was in a lot of emotional pain and suffered immensely. I have compassion and forgiveness towards myself. I really mean it. It's not just words. It took me years to get where I am today, and my life slowly but surely is getting better. How can I regret anything that empowered me to be what I am today? I'm grateful, not regretful. Thank you very much. Story 5. Worrying about how I need to beat up people who were mean to me. It just ate me up since they were usually stronger and I could never beat them up, and I knew that. It ate me up, making me antisocial and developing a cutthroat personality. I always wanted to project the image that even if I can't beat you up, I have connections to people that can, because I'd always be around people that looked like they were in gangs, and some were actually in gangs. Then I moved to be roommates with some rich kids, and I realized that they weren't afraid to admit that they were scared of someone, or that they were inadequate when it comes to things. Up until then, I had never thought that it was okay to show any weakness, because everyone around me would jump on that like vultures and eat you up. But here I was, sitting next to some rich kids that were getting picked on by their friends, getting taken advantage of, and they just shake it off like it's nothing. Oh, this guy that I was friends with, who I let live in my house and didn't pay rent, decided to backstab me. I'm just not going to talk to him anymore. Up until that moment in my life, my solution was always, I'm going to fuck this guy up somehow, either follow him home, or get people to break his leg, or I'm going to pop his tires. I gotta do something, and usually I end up doing nothing, so it would eat me up. But knowing that you can just walk away and not associate with people? That's a skill that needs to be taught to everyone early on. Story 6. Spending too much time being angry at my parents when I really just needed to deal with my own hang-ups and better pick my battles. Not everything had to be a line in the sand. Now they're older, having health issues, and though still doing well overall, I think of all the years I missed when they were stronger and more active. Our relationship is good now, but I missed too many years over boundaries that weren't always necessary. Story 7. Not going to CBT therapy sooner, like in high school. And when I tried in my 20s, I didn't want it enough for the limited therapy I did to work. I finally did it in my 30s, and CBT did, actually. You have to want CBT to work for it to work. It's a mindset shift. It changed my perspective on life. I and my entire family are fairly seriously mentally ill. Anxiety, depression, personality disorders. Immaturity kept me from doing it in my younger years. I was chasing short-lived highs, especially in bad relationships, at the expense of the life I actually wanted. As soon as I started going to a CBT therapist, I noticed a change. It was around the time of meeting my eventual spouse, and my family members with similar mental health woes were all imploding. I knew I would end up just like them, and ruin yet another relationship if I didn't give it a try. I have been in therapy off and on for 8 years since then. I still struggle, but I get by and my life is much better now. Story 8. Wouldn't say my marriage, as it produced my child who is arguably one of the coolest humans on the planet. Also do not regret the divorce that came, but wow. Do I regret settling into a new relationship so quickly after the divorce? I was with my ex-husband for something like 16 or 17 years, starting in my late teens. I've been with my only post-divorce partner for 5 years now. I should have spent some time alone, relearned my values, goals, self. I've done those things now. But had I done them sooner, I wouldn't be so deeply intertwined with another where I'm not exactly miserable, but not happy or where I should be. Story 9. Not doing some kind of study abroad while in college, not networking enough, not keeping in touch with old bosses well enough, not taking more risk earlier in my career. First 14 years were at one company. I was always afraid I just got lucky to do well there and wouldn't make it anywhere else, not moving to a larger city when I had nothing tying me down. Story 10. Honestly, I wish I'd gone to therapy earlier. I avoided therapy throughout my teens and early 20s because my mother always encouraged me to go, which told me that she thought it would fix me and make me obedient and compliant to her wishes. Imagine my surprise when I finally got in there in my late 20s after realizing that absolutely nothing in my life at that time was sustainable. And the therapist immediately started telling me to set boundaries with my mom and everyone else, and told me my family's behavior was deeply unhealthy. I mean, they didn't say that in as many words. But after going to therapy for a year, my view about how it was acceptable for people to treat me and how healthy relationships worked had completely changed. That first therapist started a process that allowed me to completely transform my life and accomplish a lot of my dreams. Today, I have been in a relationship with the best girlfriend in the world for 5 years, and am doing things with my life that I would have thought were totally unrealistic, or that I didn't even know were possible when I was younger. Life is much less about starting out with advantages and much more about figuring out what you really want and how to get it. And I'm of the opinion that therapy is a key part of that process for most people, because most of us grow up with some adults around us who give us super unhealthy ideas about what a healthy relationship looks like or what kind of treatment we deserve. We're at risk of accepting poor treatment from others for the rest of our lives if we don't work with someone who can really make us see that we deserve better and can get better out of life. Story 11. Not playing baseball my senior year of high school. No, I do not long for the days of high school. I've had much better days than most of my high school years. However, I should have played. It genuinely eats at me that I hung it up. At the time, I felt I was done. I was more worried about growing up, focusing on what's after high school, and also chasing this one girl that after reflection, it wasn't worth it. Such a fool I was. You see these hypothetical questions on Reddit about going back in time to tell your younger self something, and yeah, we always lean towards something financial. One of the things would definitely be, forget about her and what could happen next year or the year after. She's not the one anyway and isn't worth it. You end up with the one, I promise. Go play baseball. You need to feel that joy one more time. Story 12. Trying drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, and sex. I'm in great shape and never been to rehab. Never needed it, but all those things are a waste of time. I could have focused on learning about things like real estate and all other forms of investing. I'm sure I could have been a millionaire or at least been retired by now. I'm 45 and been on child support since my son was 6 until 16 when I won custody. My son is now 18 and I just started seriously investing as soon as I won custody. I'm really good at finance, although I'm in the medical profession. I still have time, but it would have been nice to not have to work right now. Chase money and not love or pleasure. Story 13. Wish I studied harder and pushed myself in university. I'm in my early 40s and still doing continuing education, working with people who got it all done 15 years ago and have been making a lot more money than me during all that time. I chased girls and did drugs just my 20s. I laughed and had a ball, but all things come to an end, and then the place I was at was not good. Story 14. Minor regrets. Don't know that I'd change anything. There's that girl that I let get away. I would have greatly benefited had I joined ROTC in college and spent a bit of time in the military. I would have saved a lot of money, learned discipline sooner, and would have had a better career. I should have spent more time with my reclusive father, but it's unlikely he would have been open to that. Story 15. Thought the grass was greener on the other side of an almost year-long relationship I got into back in 2020 after going through a separation. 3 years later, and I'm still cursing my decision to end things because I was going through a lot and was scared of commitment. Made a rash decision, and it's still fucking with my head to this day. She was amazing, as was her family, and now she is engaged, and I am still just going through the motions trying to survive, and my social anxiety got worse, so making friends has been incredibly hard, especially at 32, almost 33. Therapy is helping, but god damn it's hard, not to mention dating now is not fun. I guess to more directly answer, therapy. When you have no one close to you outside of family to talk to about stuff too, it's refreshing to be able to talk to someone about it and not feel judged like I do to myself. Story 16. I think this is a theme in the comments, but in my 40s, I just stopped giving a fuck about what others thought. Now I'm 53, I just see how absolutely full of shit most people are who pretend they know anything. Their certainty should give you certainty that they're faking it until they think they can make it. My regret? Not enjoying the now more as it was happening. I'm pretty fucking zen every day now, but I only got here a few years ago. Story 17. That I didn't finish college. I have a great career making excellent money as a senior leader at a Fortune 100 company. It's not about the college holding me back, it's about the fact that I doubt get to share in the bond that other people have with their alma mater. It's the hypocrisy that I will ensure my kids do go to college. It's also the networking from alumni that I don't get to participate in. Story 18. Not asking out a girl that I liked when I was 17. Realistically, objectively, I doubt she would have said yes, but the act of me asking would have given me courage to try again later and probably taken my life in a very different direction. Even if it didn't alter much, at least I could say I tried and would not be forever wondering what if. Many other regrets are mostly related to things I never did or didn't do until later. Had to get fit again after years of inactivity, when staying fit would have been easier. Had to lose weight, when staying in a weight range would have been easier. Starting reading later in life and should have done that earlier since it helps brain work good. But many of these things never entered my mind, so they're regrets in hindsight. I think people need to project their lives forward a bit, try to imagine themselves in a few different life states, and then picture what that person would regret you not doing right now. Story 19. You know, I'm going to be cliché and say I don't know if I have regrets. The relationships that didn't work, platonic and romantic, still taught me something. The job changes I underwent led me to more interesting places. The ways I thought I was settling actually became the most thrilling and challenging. Hell, even the abuse and suicidality taught me about the shared human experience and made me a better support for others. Story 20. Hoping and convincing myself this was the last time, or she snapped out of it for good in regard to my ex-wife cheating or treating me like shit for no reason, respectively. Spent 8 years trying to fix what she saw wrong with me, not realizing it would never be enough, that there was something she would find lacking no matter how hard I tried. The lead up from maybe it isn't a me thing to realizing the hole I'd been digging while smiling up at her waiting for it to be deep enough. I'm not a stupid person, but man did I feel stupid once I could see both the forest and the trees, TLDR. Married a textbook narcissist with BPD, spent too long convinced I could fix it. Story 21. Thinking money wasn't that important. I got into education with a heroic mindset that I'd be okay, but just not great financially, and get life satisfaction by changing lives. I'm now getting older, watching metaphorical financial trains down the track about to hit my parents who planned poorly financially on top of seeing family and friends who also did the same. It's going to end badly for everyone I care about. Seriously, I should have skipped college and stayed in my parents' basement from 1830 just to save money and buy assets that appreciate like real estate or something. I should have immediately focused on whatever path would get the most money over a decade and just buy land and trailers and take care of everyone instead of thinking I could somehow help the world. Story 22. I didn't feel particularly pretty in my teens and 20s. If you're reading this and you're in your teens or 20s, trust me, you're really attractive. Don't look in the mirror and think about the ways you don't look like a movie star. Enjoy whatever you've got. Whether it's thick hair or unwrinkled skin or nice eyebrows and eyelashes or generally being fit. Because I swear to God, almost everybody else in the world thinks you look just great. I feel more attractive at 45 than I did at 25 because I've learned to look for things about myself to like and not things to feel cruddy about. But when I look back at photos of myself at 18, minus 30, and I have to admit there was so much more to like, haha. Also, when people compliment you on your looks, no, they aren't just being nice, they mean it. And if it's an 80-year-old grandma telling you you look good, it's as big of a compliment as it is coming from the person you have a crush on. Sometimes 80-year-old grandmas feel comfortable saying things that other people are thinking but aren't comfortable saying. Story 23. I wasn't ready for serious relationship until I was like 28, 29. I didn't even think about wanting marriage or children one day, and now when I want them, it's almost mission impossible for me to conceive due to my retroverted uterus. I wish I was thinking about this stuff earlier in my life. Nothing will make me happier than having a child that will love cats and animals as much as I do. Probably I will never experience that, and it breaks my heart. Story 24. Converting 180k dog coin to $5 worth of Bitcoin 10 years ago whenever I got them worth maybe $100 now, I lost track of what I got through trading Dogcoin and what I got from other ways, and selling 30 shares of GameStop for a $200 loss in 2019. I kicked my paper hand's butt for a good month when both of those blew up in 2021, since I could have paid off my mortgage with the gains from that. Story 25. Not pursuing my dreams earlier. I knew what I wanted to do, but I was too afraid to do it when I was younger. But when I hit my 30 mark, I realized that my dreams wouldn't just go away, and that I would regret it forever if I didn't try. I knew that if I didn't take the leap, I would be on my deathbed with big regrets, and then it would be too late. So I went for my dreams. It haven't worked out yet, but at least I'm trying. I wished I would have done it sooner. That is my regret, and that is what I want to send out to other people. If you have a dream, go for it. At least do something. You will regret it otherwise. Story 26. I messed up my university years, early 20s. I went without really knowing what I wanted. And by then, I was also years into an undiagnosed depression that got much worse during those years. It was the mid-90s, so there wasn't as much information or knowledge out there. Depression was for old people, LOL. But my regret is still not realizing it was depression and not looking after my mental health more. That just wasn't a thing back then. I didn't get meds till I was late 20s, no helpful therapy till mid-30s. I'm 47 now, meds-free since 2 years, until it goes wrong anyway, and in balance. All those wasted years of gray life, though. I'm sad for young me. I just didn't know. Story 27. Not knowing that you are already past the limit of time that you might have been given, and living your life accordingly based on the fact that you're already on the bonus time that you were never entitled to. The two people I know who died youngest were 16 and 21, both in car accidents, one in high school, and one in my undergrad university days. Then I slowly started to outlive people who were famous. Let's talk musicians because I know lots of them. Buddy Holly, rock and roll pioneer, was just 22 years old when he died on the same plane as 17-year-old Richie Valens. Sid Vicious, who seemed so much more adult than a teeny bopper like Richie Valens, was only 21. Poet John Keats was 25, and soon after that you get the famous 27 Club, which is a huge list of names in music. Robert Johnson, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse. But here's the thing. We think of those people as people who died tragically young. It's not hard to think of Amy Winehouse as just a kid when she overdosed. Even if you're an 18-year-old now, and she was 9 years older than you naturally understand. Well, that wasn't very long. Compare her entire one-album career arc with, say, Taylor Swift, who is now 34 years old and still going strong. And Taylor Swift feels young too. Even if you're a teenage Swiftie, she feels closer to your generation than to your parents' generation. If she were to be gone tomorrow, we'd all say she was gone too young. But here's the weird thing. When you hit 28, you have still only outlived people you always thought died too young, like those above. When you hit 30, and then 31, and then 32, you start to notice people who died tragically, but not young as you've always understood it. While I was 32, I outlived Bruce Lee. At 33, I outlived Chris Farley and John Belushi. At 35, I outlived Andy Kaufman. At 36, I outlived Marilyn Monroe and Bob Marley. At age 40, I started outliving old-school novelists, Franz Kafka, Edgar Allan Poe, Jack London. I outlived jazz legends like John Coltrane and Glenn Miller. Believe it or not, I outlived John Lennon. Then, at age 42, I outlived Elvis. The biggest change is that when somebody dies at 27, we never think they were done changing the world yet. Hendrix was a tragedy because nobody knows how much farther he would have gone as a guitarist. Just look at his friend and fellow guitar hero, Jeff Beck, who was also a hugely gifted guitar genius in the late 1960s, but lived to the age of 78. That feels like a long time still, until one day it won't. Eventually, you reach the point where you realize that what you've already done with your life is what will stand when you're gone. And there's no guarantees. Then you realize you've spent too long writing a Reddit post, too much of the time you have left. Story 28. Not going to an Ivy League school. As you get older, you start to realize how the world really works. And the main driver of it all is, in my opinion, personal relationships. Going to an Ivy League school can make you part of a network of highly important people. People who can later in life become friends, business partners, significant others. It's not about the degree you end up pursuing or the education, even though you'll probably get the best one, but the people you meet and surround yourself with. I'm writing this in hopes someone can read it and realize that it's not the same thing, Being best friends with the daughter of Joe, the local plumber, or best friends with the daughter of a president, or the CEO of a top 500 company. P.S. Not putting down Joe, the local plumber, because that's my dad, LOL. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.